This one is different, and not just because we encourage your loved ones to cheer when you walk across the stage. It's different because today you've joined a noble profession. You've become lawyers, and there are ways in which we lawyers are different. How are we different? What qualities do we share as lawyers that differentiate us from those who've chosen other occupations? We insist on precision in thought and expression. We're preoccupied with critical reasoning and with the written and spoken word. We search for governing principles and explore their application. We enjoy discussion and debate. We relish the adversarial nature of these encounters. Perhaps subconsciously, we may even insist on being in control. When one argument is over, we're ready for the next one. Is this starting to sound familiar? But we lawyers are different in other ways too. We're different in what we're committed to. We're committed to the rule of law in a democratic society. We're committed to an independent bar and an independent judiciary. That is what we stand for, and it's what we stand up for. What we do as lawyers matters. It matters to our clients, and as Justice Morocco reminded us this morning, you should always remember that what may be a simple and relatively unimportant case or transaction to you is likely to be extremely important to your client. But what we do as lawyers matters not just to individual clients, but also to a greater cause. The rule of law, an independent bar, and an independent judiciary are what differentiates our democracy from countries in which tyranny rules. Tyrants can prevail only in a society that does not value the rule of law, and which does not have an independent bar and an independent judiciary. Those are irreplaceable sources of power to free people, and they're fragile rights that must always be guarded zealously. We lawyers are also different because of our professional responsibilities. You will often hear it said, though it cannot be said often enough, that law is more than just a business. We owe a duty of loyalty and a duty of confidentiality to all our clients. These duties of loyalty and confidentiality distinguish us from those who've chosen to pursue other professions and occupations. At the same time, we're officers of the courts and owe duties to the fair and effective administration of justice. We have a duty to treat our courts, our adversaries, and indeed all people with whom we come into contact as lawyers, with candor, fairness, courtesy, and respect, with civility in word. And you will find in your lives as lawyers, as we have, that there is a civility among members of our profession, a civility that belies the images of the profession that are sometimes propagated by elements of the media. We are also different in our devotion as professionals to public service. For our profession, public service is not an option, it's a professional responsibility. It has always been one of the hallmarks of our profession, and it is one of the hallmarks of our profession today. We must always remember that we are privileged to be lawyers. I don't mean that we all come from elite backgrounds. Many lawyers come from ordinary or even impoverished backgrounds and have overcome deprivation to realize the accomplishment that we celebrate today. Yet there are many others in our society who are less privileged than are we, people who have no access to legal services, and we have a duty to them to promote access to justice for all, through legal aid and pro bono work and otherwise. That is only one of the ways in which members of our profession may discharge their professional duty of public service. There are a great many others. But I can assure you today, as you depart on your journey as lawyers, that the most gratifying hours that you will spend in our profession will be those for which you will never charge a fee. You will realize a deep personal satisfaction as a result of your service to the public. So please do your honorable profession a favor. Give back. Remember the people struggling alongside you, and especially the people who haven't had the same opportunities, the same education, the same blessings as you've had. Now, you've reached a stepping stone in your lives today, a place where you can pause and look back with pride on the distance that you've covered. But the thing about stepping stones is that you always need to find another one up there in front of you. Either that or you have to turn around and go back. So I'd like to conclude my remarks today by presuming to impart to you some advice which I hope may help you find stepping stones that will lead you in the right direction. You should keep in mind that advice such as this is often tainted by the tunnel vision that comes with spending many years in an ever-narrowing field of activity. When Conrad Hilton was asked what he would like to pass on to others after a half a century in the hotel business, he said, always keep the shower curtain inside the tub. Well, I think that's good advice. I hope that the rest of my advice is equally sound. Here it is. First, continue your education. Always be a student. You've survived elementary and secondary school, university and law school, Arctic Fling, and the Law Society's Bar Admission course. And I hate to be the bearer of the news, but you're not done yet. And what's more, you never will be. This isn't the end, it's closer to the beginning of your education. Your life will be a journey from lesson to lesson. That journey will take you in directions you cannot possibly predict. No one knows how your lives will unfold. I suspect that I'm not the only lawyer on the stage this morning who is today considered by some to be an expert in a field that he didn't even study in law school. So you should always, in the words of the opening line of the traditional will, be mindful of the uncertainties of life. And the only way of arming yourself to protect against those uncertainties is to continue your education. Second, and this is related, adjust to change. Don't allow the healthy respect for the traditions that I alluded to earlier to become a constraint. When I was called to the bar, back in the Paleozoic era, we had dower and courtesy. The Married Women's Property Act is still in force. You can bring an action for the tort of criminal conversation. It was before the enactment of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. If you had told us that by the middle of our careers same-sex marriages would become lawful, we would have told you that you were hallucinating. I won't even get into technological change, except to say that we would never have imagined that by 2008 we would be communicating with colleagues and clients and sometimes even judges with messages transmitted instantaneously by wireless handheld devices on which we type with our thumbs. If we hadn't continued our legal education, if we hadn't adapted to change, we'd still be living in the Paleozoic era, maybe dinosaurs. Darwin wrote that it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Third, look at the other side of every argument. In an adversarial system, you cannot be an effective advocate without appreciating the other party's case. You can't be an effective solicitor either if you don't develop the capacity to empathize and to understand the thought process that underpins the position of other parties to a transaction. Listen carefully and don't be too sure that you're right. Fourth, be disciplined. Self-discipline should inform your work habits and restrain your emotions in the face of provocation. Many problems lead lawyers into encounters with the Law Society that are much less pleasant than today's, but a lack of self-discipline is the root cause of most. You should discipline yourself so that others will not have to. What Moses brought down from Mount Sinai were not the 10 suggestions, commandments. Our rules of conduct for lawyers are also commandments. You must discipline yourself to conduct yourself in accordance with them. The pain of self-discipline is less than the pain of regret. Finally, be an optimist. Lawyers have to be skeptical. That's part of the job description. But there's an important distinction between skepticism and cynicism. Cynicism is an obstacle. Besides that, you have to live in the same world, whether you're optimistic or cynical. But if you're optimistic, you'll have more fun. So be an optimist. Be a skeptical optimist, if you want.